So what were you more into as a kid? Was it movies or comics?
It was comics easily because movies you had to, if they went on HBO or you didn't go to it,
Right.
or if you weren't fortunate on VHS, you wouldn't watch it. So yeah, the first comic I ever bought was at a comic book convention at Magnolia Mall, my hometown, Florence, South Carolina, and it was Star Wars #4 because it had the coolest picture. I was like the Death Star attacking and Luke running. But if I would knew what I knew now, it would have been Star Wars #1. But #4 just had the coolest thing. And then yeah, it's just basically comics. I just latched on to comics. Like there's something about them that are just, at least growing up. I don't know if every generation has that thing, but you just latch onto it because they're tales of, at least when I collected, it was, yeah, the stories were kind of loose. They weren't super detailed. Yeah, there were loopholes in them, but it's a classic story of right versus wrong, doing the right thing, regardless. That's why, like, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero because of that, because it's this Peter Parker kid. He's in college. He's working his, when I started reading, he's working his ass off. He's trying to take care of his aunt. He's got these powers that he's, fighting Green Goblin at night, but he's still trying to pay rent, trying to keep a girlfriend, like, because he does all these things and he gets no reward for it, but he does it because it's the right thing to do. And that's when, yeah, he's one that, like, I say Peter Parker is one of my favorite heroes, not Spider-Man, because Spider-Man or Peter Parker is Spider-Man. It's like Clark Kent is Superman. There would be no Superman without Clark Kent, his upbringing, his morals, his values. Yeah.
Did you always feel like you had a strong sense of morality per se, like
I don't know.
innate in you? Or
I
what about that,
I I,
appealed to you, do you feel like?
I can't honestly answer that, tell you honestly. I don't know.
Right.
You're a kid, you're just figuring things out, you just have the examples set before you.
Right.
And
But I mean, on the playground, you didn't have like a sense of injustice that you were going to go right or wrong. You saw it.
sometimes yes, sometimes no, but I mean that was so long ago. I can't, definitively say like, oh yeah, in first grade
Yeah.
I did that. You
Right.
have
Right.
flashes, you have memories, but it's not like us. You can't just record it. But yeah, comics were always great. They were my friends and I that I'm talking about back in, especially around the '80s. I learned more from comics. Like I was a biology and physics major or minor in college. I was biology major, physics minor in college, um, and I love science. And not half, but a good chunk of the knowledge of science I learned was from comics. The first time I ever heard of the Mohs scale of hardness was a Fantastic Four issue. And
Mm.
there's probably people listening like, "What's the Mohs scale of hardness?" Like they would reference things like, and that's why it's comics. I can't speak it down. I don't want to, disparage anybody because I encourage people. If you like what you like, enjoy it. I just don't prefer today's comics as opposed to, and it could just be when you grow up and the time you read them. But when I grew them, it was storytelling. It wasn't storyboards for TV. Like
Right.
yeah, what you could do in 1 to 2 issues of a Fantastic Four, 251, 250, 251, two of my favorite issues. Gladiator comes down, the Skrulls are pretending to be the X-Men. He's fighting them. Great. But that was 2 issues. Today's time, that would be like a 6 to 12 issue arc. And
Mm.
that's what I miss about comics is uh I don't watch it that much anymore, but Doctor Who used to be like that. They're stories, they're individual stories, and there's an overarching timeline that connects them. But they're individual stories for individual morals, individual like conundrums, whatever you want to say. And then you'd have the big finale that tied everything together. And today, it didn't say today. It's probably started. I hate to say it. I'm going to blame Brian Michael Bendis for it when he did the Ultimate Avengers and all that stuff. Is a perfect example. Um, you'd have a spread page, and there's all this action, all these word bubbles, all this, and it wasn't blah blah blah. punch, blah, 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 punch. It was a snapshot in time. It was like Ali standing over Frazier. You know, it was like that heroic moment. And then the dialogue would explain everything that happened in that moment. And that's what I miss about comics is it had this great thing of you had the storytelling of a novel, but you had an unlimited budget when it came to visuals, and it was a beautiful medium. It was really pretty. And now, I mean, I get it, it's an industry, but now they're just storyboards for TV and television shows. So now it's panel of me talking to you, panel of you talking to me, panel of me talking to you. That's a page, flip the page instead of just one small panel with the dialogue going on. And I say there's something missing with that. Like it was great.
Well, I
Sorry.
think you're describing a really good parallel to understand of what's happened to all media,
Yeah.
where what you're saying is that like how dense the storytelling was at that time,
Yeah.
and it's character driven, and it's characters that you can invest in because you feel like they're actually teaching you, you're learning from them, and you're learning about the character, so you invest within that character. And
Yeah.
it's something that's character driven versus plot driven, and I feel like that's a big problem with a lot of the film today is it's not about the characters anymore, it's about the plot, it's about getting somewhere plot wise, like A going to B,
Yeah.
and what the characters say and do along the way doesn't as much matter as long as we get from A to B.
And also it's based around like, in my personal opinion, better or worse. Again, I'm not trying to nobody take offense to this. It's it's basically based around these ideas like I want a shot of this. Wouldn't this look cool? How can we put this in a story other than let's plot out a great story and then figure out the pacing along the way. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I use this as a great example. Any comic book people will know what I'm saying. It wasn't a great movie, but it was a great annual. It was basically Guardians of the Galaxy annual number one. Big splash pages, independent story. It was fun. But as far as storytelling wise, it was rushed and it was kind of pigeonholed into the whole, you know, Thanos Infinity Gauntlet thing. Same thing with the Captain Marvel movie. That was a movie almost made me cry. God, that movie hurt me on a personal level, man. It really
Yeah.
did.